This video is brought to you by my generous backers over on Patreon. If you'd like to support the channel and get cool perks like access to the Discord, seeing the videos a week before anyone else, or exclusive Patreon-only gameplays, plus a myriad of other perks, then check out my Patreon. The link's in the description below. Okay, anyone who's been watching the channel for the past few months will know all about this deck, and hopefully the third time is a charm. Grumgully the Generous versus Phenax, God of Deception, Inalla Archmage Ritualist, and Sygg Cutthroat. And that is actually a decent opening hand, surprisingly, so no reason not to keep there. We are third in the turn order, so not the best, but it's better than being last. And the Wizards player has started the game off with a ley line of anticipation in place, so highly doubtful that they'll be doing much of anything other than dropping lands on their own turn. Much more likely that they'll be playing on Sygg's turn instead. Yeah, we've got a lot of Dimir players at the table actually, with a splash of red in over here. Doubling Season is good. Let's start things off with a tap land. Don't often play the man lands, but I figured in a multiplayer setting we'd actually have time to play and maybe even activate the man lands. Plus the fact that this actually works with plus counters, so how does it get the plus counters actually? Whenever it attacks, put a plus counter on it, so yeah, alongside Doubling Season and Hardened Scales, that should get twice as many plus counters on it and actually become a threatening creature. And the first spell of the game comes from the Mill player. That is, whenever an opponent shuffles their library, put a plus counter on it. We'll see how often people shuffle their libraries with this. These types of effects are always intriguing. Things like Haunt of Hightower tell you how often cards hit the bin. Bloodchief Ascension and cards like that you don't realise until you see these types of cards. Let's go in for a forest, and we're about to shuffle our library now with a 3 visits. Then we'll shuffle again with Wooded Foothills. So let's grab ourselves the Cycle land, and then we'll go for the Shock land after that because Cinderglade is going to come in on tap thanks to our 2 basics. And the first commander of the game comes down, Sygg Cutthroat, but a fetch has been cracked over here, so there may be counter magic on the way. Another shuffle coming in, so we've already gotten 2 shuffles here, and they're just playing out a talisman, so no counter magic there. Looks like Sygg is going to come down. And they just pass straight through their turn over to Phenax, who also plays a land and passes. Yeah, this is what it's like playing against blue players. I was going to play out the Anger here, but I don't see any reason not to go for a Sky Shroud claim. We could play out the Loyal Apprentice as well, couldn't we? Ready for our Grumgully. So we'll go Tiger and Cinderglade. And that's another shuffle for the Kosi's Trickster. That is up to a 4-4 already. Let's just go in for the Loyal Apprentice so we don't have to cast it later. We won't be getting Thopters yet, but if we play out our commander next turn, then we will. I think, yeah, our commander into Anger. Anger's going to be a good blocker for us. I doubt anyone's going to want to swing into that. Certainly not going to swing into the Inalla player because they can play at flash speed. So there's no decent attacks for us to make there. And surprisingly, Sygg not deciding to swing in either. I thought they'd come in at us and try and encourage us to block with the Loyal Apprentice, but clearly they can't deal the extra 2 points of damage that they need for this. So deciding not to bother at all. Another shuffle from the Scalding Tarn onto the Trickster. And then at the end of Sygg's turn, going for Panharmonicon. And that is counter-worthy. Oh, and it's a mana drain as well, so that's a lot of mana that Sygg's going to have next turn. 4 additional. Yeah, it might be that we don't win with combat this game. We might have to try and wait on all the counter magic being used up, and then try and set up an infinite combo. We can go for persist combos in this deck. Okay, Phenax just dropping a Cabal Coffers and passing as well. We are not struggling on lands this game, are we? We're doing quite well, actually. Let's go for... We'll go for the anger first. Actually, no we won't. That doesn't make sense, does it? We might as well get a plus counter onto our anger. So let's go for Grumgully first and see if it lands. It does. So now we'll go in for anger. And I will try and stick Doubling Season next turn. Then we'll get a Loyal Apprentice trigger because we control our commander. A Thopter will come down. And now it's a case of seeing what this player has for us. We'll go in at the Wizard player. Yeah, we'll just go in at the Wizard player here. I think all eyes might be on them anyway. They are going for something. We're encouraging them to play something on our turn and not the Sygg's. Okay, going for a Toxic Deluge in response, so I dare say they might have done that anyway at the end of Sygg's turn. This might just mean that Sygg can actually stick a creature. So we've got our anger in the bin now, so all of our stuff will have haste. But we didn't keep hold of our Loyal Apprentice for very long. We did see a little snippet of what we want to do with that thing. Just imagine it with the Doubling Season out. But playing against a bunch of blue players is probably not the best spot for us to be in. Baleful Strix coming down for the Dimir player. And they also got down the Thran Dynamo with that 4 mana from the Panharmonicon mana drain counter. Now a Mystic Remora as well isn't playing against blue fun. Although at least they're using their counter magic on each other, that's good. And a Force of Will, yeah, this is like a EDH game. What did they exile with the Force of Will? They exiled Naban. That's a good one to get rid of. 2 cards in hand there, 3 cards in hand over here, and not managing to trigger their Sygg as of yet. And then over here on this Dimir player's side, they're struggling on mana, so we might be able to sneak through a Mana Reflection and a Doubling Season. If we can get them through, then outside of Mass Bounce, they can't actually remove them, unless they run Ugins and Meteor Golems and the like. And now they just so happen to have gotten Cabal Coffers and Urborg naturally without tutoring for them. So while they're struggling on blue mana, they are not struggling on black. And that is a Mana Gargoyle. See that quite a lot in multiplayer Commander online. Loses Defender and gains Flying for 1 mana. It is a 4/4. Okay, Hardened Scales. I think we might be able to just dump out our hand here. They might have counter magic here, but we'll soon find out. Let's try and drop a Mana Reflection. Mystic Remora will draw them a card, which means it's even more likely that they get into counters. Well, they passed the turn. Mystic Remora draws them, and now we'll see. No, they pass pretty quickly, so no counters there. Let's go Wooded Foothills. That will tap for mana, but we want our Gruul mana. Let's finally go in for our dual land. Oh no, we already got our dual land, didn't we? Thanks to, that was Skyshroud Claim. It's the Shock that we've got in the library still. Dwarven Mine is... It enters untapped if you control 3 or more mountains. Yeah, it's just green we want. Let's just go for a basic forest. Yeah, can't quite get down Doubling Season. We can get down a Hardened Scales though, so let's do that. And we can't afford the Mystic Remora, so that's another card draw for our opponent. Yeah, I've just really got my fingers crossed that Doubling Season manages to stick next turn. We really want to get into card draw as well. I mean, worst case scenario, we can get down our commander and go crazy with a Raging Ravine. There's plenty of black at the table that could remove that though. Sygg coming down for a second time, followed by a Lovel Drake. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control your commander, you can draw a card. That's a good one for only 3 mana. So they go up to 3 cards. We'll see if this Baleful Strix decides to swing in. It's Flying and Death Touch, so it's a pretty good blocker. I wouldn't have thought they'd bother with that. Although this thing is indestructible, so... They don't need to worry about Death Touch on that front. Paying the upkeep cost on the Mystic Remora, so we've got that to worry about for another turn. And they're already up to 5 cards in hand. We fed them quite a few of those cards. Now it is a Maze of Ith from our opponent, which is nowhere near as bad a card with Urborg in play. It's not like you're missing a land drop if you play it, and it can actually tap for mana. And then the Gargoyle coming in at us. Yeah, seeing the fact that we've got a hell of a lot of mana. We've only got 1 card in hand though, although for all they know it could be a Genesis Wave or something frightening like that. Then during the blocking phase, tapping out for something. It's Ninjutsu, which is Inkai's Servant of Oni. That is combat damage. You can put a creature card from that player's graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. And they decide to go for the Anger to take haste away from us. I think I might have gone for the Loyal Apprentice if I was my opponent. Then when you get your commander out next turn, you start getting Thopters. But they're obviously very worried about our haste. And then Sygg, we'll draw a card because we've been dealt damage. I think it's 3. We'll need to lose 3 or more life, which we did to the Inkais. Okay, Nature's Law is more mana. Might as well play that because it's free. 2 mana to grab a land that will give us 2 mana. And then are we going to go for Doubling Season this turn? I don't think we are. So let's pay into that. And we'll just go for another Forest again. We could go for Doubling Season actually, couldn't we? Then we're showing our opponent that we've got Doubling Season, that's the only problem. Let's go for Grumgully. People will instantly be terrified of Doubling Season, even if you've got an empty hand. Then we'll activate our Manland. And that will become a 3-3, and it's going to gain some plus counters. Might as well go in at the Wizard player, because there's a Maze of Ith over here, there's a Death Toucher here. If they've got a Wizard to play, I doubt it'll be as big as a 5-5. We get an additional plus counter there, thanks to the Hardened Scales. And that triggers Sygg again, so plenty of card draw going on, it's just that none of it is ours. And obviously the plus counters do stay on that because it's a permanent, so it will be even bigger next turn, especially if we decide to go for that Doubling Season. Now it is Eldest Reborn. Each opponent sacrifices a creature or planeswalker. We'll see if our opponent decides to sack our Anger again. Grumgully is obviously going down for us. Oh no, there's a mana drain of their own. So that's 5 mana additional for the Inalla player. Will they want to make use of that during their turn is the question. They only get that mana during their main phase. So we keep our Grumgully, and there is Dimir Cutpurse. When it deals combat damage to a player, they discard and you draw. And they will draw on combat, thanks to the Loyal Drake as well. I think I said Lovel before, didn't I? Yeah, maybe I need glasses. That Y looked like a V to me before. Now I'm seeing it say Loyal Drake, not a Lovel Drake. I don't even know if Lovel is a word. They get their 5 mana during the main phase. Do they want to make use of it? Okay, Disciple of Bolas doesn't do anything, I don't think. Yeah, it's sacrifice another creature. Oh well, they get a copy of it, and then the copy can sacrifice the original and draw them 2. Yeah, I suppose that works. So the copy sacrificing the original, they go up to 7 cards in hand. They haven't done too well on the mana front really, considering how many cards they've drawn. And speaking of mana, there is a Mana Crypt. And again, deciding to pass. That token gets exiled, although it's been dealt with already. And Phenax finally coming down. They've finally decided to make use of the Mana Confluence. I don't know if they're aiming to mill anyone here or not. They could go after our opponent's Disciple of Bolas and sacrifice the Anger to draw some cards. Alright, deciding to mill us. They've got it in for us. They get rid of our Skull Clamp and Ancient Tomb. Don't think Skull Clamp was doing anything for us this game, especially after the Loyal Apprentice went down. Then there is a regeneration shield on this now. See if they're coming at us yet again. Yeah, they are. And clearly they can't see the fact that there's a control player over here with 7 cards in hand. Yeah, people's threat perception is questionable sometimes. They're grabbing our loyal apprentice. Maybe that's what they were after the whole time. They do control their commander now as well, so they'll get Thopters next turn. Sygg will trigger again. Okay, Deep Forest Hermit goes nicely with a doubling season. Let's see if we can make use of that. We'll have to go for the doubling season first. Oh, and the Mystic Remora has gone down as well. I didn't notice that, so they decided not to pay into it. So that's good. No counter magic there either. Then we'll go for Deep Forest Hermit. This will get us a bunch of squirrel tokens with a bunch of plus counters on them. That comes down with a bunch of pluses on it itself. And probably a very good idea that our opponent got rid of our anger, because we've got a lot of damage on board now. Let's animate the manland again. Seen at least a little bit of what we want to do in the deck, but I have the most difficult time of getting into card draw in this deck for some reason. Don't care as much about a Maze of Ith when we've got so many creatures in play though. Let's do our damnedest to get rid of this Grixis player as soon as possible. We seem to be the only one that cares about what they're doing over there. This jumps up to a 9/9 thanks to doubling season and hardened scales. And we're forcing them to play during our turn again. That is Bloodline Necromancer. You may return a target vampire or wizard from graveyard to battlefield. That's a really good card that I've never had a chance to play with. So they go for this thing. And that isn't a May ability, I don't think. When it enters the battlefield, sack another creature. Yeah, so if they put the mana... How much mana is that? Yeah, you only have to pay 1, so they are going to be able to gang up on Grumgully here if they want to. But deciding to sacrifice the vampire for more card draw. They'll still be able to gang up here though, because they'll have 4 power. So they go up to 9 cards in hand. Oh no, but deciding to go even more card draw as opposed to getting rid of our Grumgully. I suppose we can get it out again easily enough. So the card draw is clearly more valuable to them. We'll see if they actually got into some lands off of all that card draw there. They were up to 11 in hand. Blocking the manland so that they don't take 9. They do take 3 though, triggering the Sygg over here. Like I said, there's lots of card draw going on, it's just that none of it's coming from us. And there's a lot of sitting back and doing nothing, which I don't like, but it's par for the course with blue control-y style decks. They don't mind if the game goes on long. Now from Sygg we are seeing Tempt with Reflections. The Tempt cycle is never played correctly in my opinion. You don't take them up on the tempting offer, but people always do. Choose a target creature you control, create a token copy of it, and each opponent may create a token copy of that creature. If they do, you get another copy. So our opponent is going to get a bunch of Baleful Strixes here. Well, the Inalla player can't take them up on it apparently, but this player is going to. Well, we need the card draw, so we might as well. We'll get more than 1 copy thanks to our doubling season. So that draws us a couple of cards there. If our opponents are doing it, then we're going to as well. Look at all that value our opponent got for only 4 mana. Yeah, Tempt with Reflections is a really good one. We just get into Armorcraft Judge and another land. Lands are the last thing we want to see. This is draw a card for each creature you control with a plus counter on it though. If we can land that with all of this stuff in play, that will be... yeah, that'll be our card draw well and truly dealt with. I am under no illusion that we're actually going to land the Armorcraft Judge though. Loyal Drake drawing them back up to 8 cards in hand. And now they are swinging in. Let's just wait for them to swing in and then we'll see where they're going. Currently it's Baleful Strix. Baleful Strix in at the Mill player. Sygg in at the Grixis player. the Loyal Drake in at the Mill player. And this thing is going in at Grixis as well. So they will discard a card here. Doubt they'll care about that. They are at 11. Maze of Ith on the Loyal Drake from the Dimir player over here. And they'll draw another card with the Dimir Cut Purse. And we'll see what the Wizards player decides to discard. They just got rid of a mountain, so they have gotten into more land seemingly. And then hopefully they are going to tap out, because that means it's less likely that we'll see some counter magic. Really, really want to land this thing. Although if someone wipes the board, it doesn't matter if we're able to land it. And speaking of which, there is a Toxic Deluge. They could have waited on that. We're not going in at them with... Yeah, I would have not attacked there. We've shown that we're just aiming all our creatures over here. I would have allowed a player to be taken out before going for that, to be honest, but there's no guarantee that we're not going to go in at our opponent, so much for the card draw. We get our anger back at least. So this game is going to continue to be dragged out even longer. Chrome Mox exiles a Kakusho, the Evening Star. Wow, what have you got in your hand if you're exiling Kakusho? And now that the Dimir player seems to be down on defenders, I think I might actually go in towards them, because they actually have more mana than the Inalla player does, which makes them more worrying to me, although a Vampiric Tutor from Inalla might change things. They haven't hit their draw step yet, so they are going to draw into whatever they tutor for. And of course, we don't know what it is with the Vampiric Tutor. They've got 6 mana held up, now 7, which is Rift mana. Bounce counter is pretty much the only way they can deal with what we've got. Like I said, they might have Ugin and things like that, but I don't know if they're running those. Now it is a Mortivore from our opponent. That is really good with their commander in play. They can mill someone a lot with that. No doubt they'll go in at us because they've got their eyes firmly locked on us. And that Mana Gargoyle comes in again. Now then, is Inalla... Inalla, with all that mana held up, I really think they've gone for a Cyclonic Rift. We could encourage them to go for it. Playing against a bunch of blue players is hellish. We could have actually gotten back into this game had it not have been for counter magic and bounce and all that. I think we have to try Avenger of Zendikar. Now, Inalla should wait to see where we swing in before going for the Cyclonic Rift, but if this player with the Toxic Deluge is anything to go by, then players might not do that. Let's go for this Misty Rainforest and we'll get plus counters on all of our plants. A lot of plus counters. I'm actually going to swing everything in at everyone other than the Inalla player, because I think they've got a Rift in hand. Go for a Forest yet again. We've done pretty well considering we've been top decking. We'll convert this. Actually, like I said, I think they've got... Yeah, I think they've got some mass bounce, so I'm not even going to bother trying to go for Armorcraft Judge. I think that will encourage the Cyclonic Rift no matter where we're swinging in. So we'll go through to combat and see if they just go for the Rift immediately. At least we can replay Avenger. Yeah, they're just going for it immediately, seemingly. Okay, no, Necromancy. Maybe that's what they tutored for. I really thought they had Rift. Going after our anger. It's amazing how much interaction everyone's had with our anger. Alright, well, they're taking us off of taking any players out here. Again, should have waited. I mean, it might be that our opponent wants these two in play so that we can't take them out in a 1v1 situation. Tortuous. Okay. We'll try and land an Armorcraft Judge. Please stick. Oh, it does stick by the looks of it, unless they can counter triggered ability. We'll draw a lot of cards here. Oh, and it does stick. Excellent. So we go up to 18 cards in hand. Wow, what do we want to do with all this then? Have to actually look at what we've got first. There's a Croson Grip onto that thing. That will come in very handy. What to do? Well, Sol Ring is a no-brainer pretty much. Let's get down the Sol Ring. Followed by Croson Grip onto that thing. And in all of that, surprisingly, we didn't get into any persist stuff. Croson Grip can't be countered thanks to Split Second, so let's see what else we've got. That is, it can fight something, can't it? We can also get rid of the Maze of Ith with that if we want to. I say we just get down this thing, and how much is it to activate? Now we'll surprise our opponents with that next turn maybe. We don't have the mana to activate it currently. Yeah, so why don't we just tap out for this thing instead? Or we could hold up Beast Within as well. Unfortunately, we've made a land this turn. We could have done with the Reliquary Tower. Although the reason we've got all these plus counters is because of our land drops, so can't feel too bad about that. Yeah, let's just go for 4 mana into the Hangerback Walker. This way we'll end up with creatures, even if there's a board wipe. So that comes in as a 6/6. We'll get a bunch of Thopters into play if that gets taken out. We can actually go for the Talisman of Impulse as well, can't we? Because that will generate 2 mana, and we can still hold up Beast Within, so I might as well go for that. Yeah, unfortunately can't get down the Reliquary Tower. We'll have to be very careful about what we're discarding here. Let's get rid of some fetches. Forests, we've got plenty of forests. I don't think we really need a Solemn. And 2 more. I mean, do we need the Sylvan Library? It feels bad getting rid of Sylvan Library. We'll get rid of a Mountain. Oh, what else? Might have to be the Ravager Worm, as much as I don't like it. Yeah, we'll get rid of Ravager Worm. We're not worried about Maze of Ith while we've got all these creatures in play. Our opponent, because they cast Necromancy at instant speed, have to sacrifice the Anger now. So we'll get our haste back. Yeah, really haven't had Anger interacted with as much in the graveyard ever before. That's usually really safe in the graveyard, and you've got haste for the rest of the game, minus Graveyard Exile. So it's an intriguing matchup, if nothing else. But we have gotten into 0 combo pieces this game. Okay, a River's Rebuke. Return all non-land permanents a target player controls to the hand. We've still got haste, and Avenger of Zendikar, and we'll end up with, this is when it leaves. No, it's when it dies. We still have to, of course, we'll have to replay all of our mana stuff, won't we? Yeah, that hurts. We didn't see a Cyclonic Rift, but we did see a River's Rebuke. And now we can't hold up Beast Within either. Now it is Sir Comrade, the Grim. Be intrigued to see what my opponent does with that. People have been pulling our Anger out of the graveyard, so I don't know if that triggers it actually. No, it's when a creature leaves your graveyard, so that wouldn't do it. And looking at the chat now, the one time that people decide to be chatty and actually interact and plan with each other is the one time that I don't want them to. Whenever I want to interact with people and come up with game plans to win the game, no one answers. It's funny how that works sometimes. But by the time you're seeing this, Patreon will either be live or imminent, so we'll actually be able to interact with each other as if it was a paper game. Spellseeker coming down for Inalla now, and that can grab a Rift as well. Difference is we'll actually be able to see it this time because they have to reveal. Okay, a Reanimate. What are they wanting to reanimate? I mean, they can do it from any graveyard with that, I think. From a graveyard, yes, so take your pick. Probably just go after our Anger again, if the rest of the game is anything to go by. They get another copy of the Spellseeker as well. So, another spell being tutored for, and this time it is a Stitch Together. So, a couple of Reanimator spells. Stitch together onto their Bloodline Necromancer. Yeah, a Wizard Reanimator deck. That's actually a very intriguing list. We're finally seeing what our opponent's aiming to do now that they've gotten into a bit more mana. They went for, again, the Bloodline Keeper onto the Disciple of Bolas. And Disciple of Bolas sacrificed it. They could go for Reanimate onto this thing again. No, I can't keep it open because Modo is well, I won't say what Modo is. Yeah, they're getting another copy of the Bloodline Keeper with their Inalla, so they'll be able to bring something back here. Okay, Bloodline Keeper came down and got them into a Disciple of Bolas. Alright, they sacrificed their Bloodline Keeper to Inalla, then the copy of Bloodline Keeper came out, bringing this out again. And yeah, they're just chaining it together a bunch of times. They have ended up with a Thalakos Deceiver. It does have haste. You can sacrifice it if you do gain control of a target creature. Of course, everything's coming in at us, probably because of our anger. Yeah, and they've got 2 Bloodline Necromancers, not Bloodline Keepers. They've got 2 Necromancers. They do have lifelink. We might be going down next turn thanks to this huge thing. This player's been gunning for us since day 1. What can you do with this? That is gain control of a target creature. They gain control of that, which means it's not swinging in at us next turn. Now, all those tokens get exiled. They've got these 3 here that all get exiled. Whenever this attacks and isn't blocked, you may sacrifice it and gain control of a creature. I don't get why it's still in play then. Unless they got a token copy of it. I see, yeah, it got reanimated as one of the reanimation targets to the Bloodline Necromancer. And then it was the token that they sacrificed when it swung in. Yeah, I see, that's a very, very clever interaction that our opponents come up with. I've always liked the idea of Inalla, but I've never seen a good variant of her. And it looks like Wizard Reanimator is the way to do it. Now it is the original Chainer coming down for the mill player. Nightmares get +1/+1. 3 and 3 life. Target creature from a graveyard gets reanimated. We'll see if they go after our anger yet again. Oh look, they do. I think they actually did target our anger there. Yeah, there it is. Couldn't recognise it because it was black. Yeah, I don't think we were going to get anything going next turn because of the fact that our mana reflection has gone down. How much mana do we have? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we get 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. We've got the Soul Ring, yeah. Yeah, anyway, let's see what we can do here. There's Peer for more plus counters. We need to get into another land if we're going to go for Avenger of Zendikar again. We've got 5, 6, and then it's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We could get down Avenger again. Yeah, let's just go for... I'm trying to suss out how much coloured mana I can get away with not using, but I think we just have to wait on the land drop. Let's go for the mana reflection again and keep our fingers crossed. This will be the first counter spell we see from the Dimir player. If they go in for a counter here. Sygg deciding to scoop, which is par for the course. Then we go green there, and we'll go in for a Soul Ring, because we can generate 4 mana with Soul Ring with mana reflection in play. Then we'll go like that. We might as well get down the Talisman of Impulse because it's free. We will get 2 mana from that as well. And then it is Hardened Scales, followed by the Avenger of Zendikar. Now then, we've got Beast Within to get our anger back into the bin. If we kill Chainer, do we get our anger back? That creature is a Black Nightmare. In addition, when it leaves the battlefield, exile all nightmares. Right, so that is a means of exiling our anger, so we actually want to destroy this instead of the Chainer. Let's play Reliquary Tower. That's a bunch of plus counters on there. And then, let's see, we'll have to Beast Within there. And we've only got 2 mana held up now, so maybe it's just Hangerback Walker. Could go in for Sylvan Library. I don't think we can take out either player here, to be honest. Okay, they're deciding to tap that. What does that do? Target player puts the top X cards. Alright, they're just doing the whole mill thing. Getting rid of a Chain Reaction and a Kodama's Reach and a land. Yeah, like I said, the last thing we need is ramp. So now we've got all our haste back. We cannot win this turn, I don't think, or we can't take out a player. Assuming, well, they've got plenty of blockers there. There's plenty of blockers there. I think we need to try and survive. So maybe it's just Sylvan Library. Yeah, perhaps shouldn't have gone for... My plan was to take a player out. Should have worked it out beforehand. Plan was to take a player out, and I was hoping that getting Anger back into the bin would have done that. Oh, they can just take it back out with Chainer, can't they? Yeah, so that wouldn't have worked anyway. That was a waste of a Beast Within. So all we did there was waste our Beast Within and give them a Beast token. So definitely just sitting back here. Oh, this time they're taking our Ravager Worm. Are they going to fight or destroy a land? Okay, they decided to blow up something over here, I think. Oh, it was that thing they were killing off. Okay. Can they kill us? That is... 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, not quite. Can we kill this player off? They block 4 of it, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 15. We can't take them out, so we're actually just going to sit back here. Yeah, I wish I hadn't wasted that Beast Within. We either should have held up Beast Within or gone in for Peer, and then Avenger of Zendikar. Now it is Buried Alive, so going to set up a combo maybe. They've got their Bloodline Necromancer in play already, so they're not going to reanimate anything with that. They have put in the bin an Azami, Lady of Scrolls, a really good commander on her own. There is a Dockside Extortionist, which is really good. It's not a wizard though. And then an Archaeomancer, which can get them a couple of... Well, it can get them the Buried Alive back, interestingly enough. Yeah, I'm really liking this Inalla list. They get a copy of Archaeomancer, and they take the Stitch Together back with the token copy. What did the original get? Yeah, they've got Stitch Together, and they grabbed Reanimate with the original one. So, just the 2 cards that they tutored for with the Spellseeker. Now Reanimate, going on to Dockside Extortionist. They'll only lose 2 life there, but they're going to gain a hell of a lot of treasure tokens. Their mana concerns seem to be a thing of the past now. Stitch Together now, going on to Azami, so even more card draw. Don't know if that's a legendary, so there's not much point in making a copy of Azami. They do not, that just comes down on its own. And it's not affected by Summoning Sickness because there's no little tap arrow. It just says tap an untapped wizard, so they can do that as soon as she comes down. Mystic Sanctuary coming down as well. And we'll see what they target with that. They might want to put the Reanimate on top again. They seem to be making a lot of use out of that. Okay, did not see what that was. Vampiric Tutor they are going for. Now drawing a card with Azami. They could go for Vampiric Tutor and draw it with Azami if they needed to. Noteworthy that our opponents left up 2 blue mana there, but they've also left up the Talisman and all these treasures, so if they've got counter magic they can easily cast it. Going over to the mill player now. We've got 51 cards left in our library, and they're going in at the Inalla player, which I think is the first time they've gone in at someone other than us. Can they do this? Yeah, they can do that at instant speed, which I did miss before, so they can grab our Anger whenever they like, although the Summoning Sickness will be off of all this stuff anyway next turn. Going in for a Ninjutsu. It is Sakashima's Student coming down as a copy of a Ninja Ravager Worm. The most inconspicuous ninja anyone's ever seen. That one, yeah, it's still going in at our opponent. And they decided to fight our Avenger of Zendikar when they did that, so that is now in the bin. And that's really frightening, whilst our opponent has a Chainer in play, because they will be able to get a bunch of plant tokens here, playing out the Mana Gargoyle. See what they do with that floating 4. Okay, not going for Avenger, instead grabbing themselves, where is it? Grabbing themselves a Thalakos Deceiver. And this is a means of graveyard hate. Not only does it take it out of the graveyard, but it exiles it when Chainer leaves. So our opponent not having a Thalakos is fine with me. They're going to be able to trigger it on us as well if they want to. Although they might just want to steal this thing back. And then they're going for that Avenger of Zendikar. That's what I was afraid of. Might just have to go for card draw on Armorcraft Judge and see if we can get into... I don't even know what we could get into. I mean, it has to be a combo win at this point, I think. Rhythm of the Wild is another haste enabler. We'll grab something with Sylvan Library, perhaps. Alright, a Blasphemous Act. Now then, Blasphemous Act might actually be an intelligent play. Scampering Scorcher... Do we have the mana to go for our commander? I think that is 7 mana. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I think we've got enough. Can we take anyone out is the question. It all depends on us having our Blasphemous Act stick as well. Yeah, I'm going to go for card draw from the Armorcraft Judge anyway. So let's put these on top. And we'll draw into them. Or try to. Drop down ourselves an Armorcraft Judge. And it's noteworthy as well that our opponent can't take anger away from us, because they don't have enough black mana anymore. And if Inalla has counter magic, they're not using it. They're going to allow us to draw a bunch of cards. We've got 40 cards left in the library. I don't think our opponent can mill us out. Now then. Yeah, we're actually starting to get into the things that we want. Took long enough. Let's attempt a Blasphemous Act. And if there's no funny business from this player over here, yeah, they're obviously going to make use of his army before she dies. They may get into counter magic here. They've got a lot of cards to draw. Okay, they are going to cast something. Oh, it's the Vamp Tutor. Yeah, I forgot about Vampiric Tutor, so they can go for Vamp Tutor. Draw the counter with Disciple of Bolas. We can still get an evasive creature into play with haste with the Dragon Broodmother, but I don't think we're destined to win this one. Doesn't get much more difficult of a matchup than a bunch of control players. Been an interesting one though, so I have decided to definitely upload this one and show it to you all. Chainer deciding to mill us. That is Woodfall Primus, Beast Within. How many of our combo pieces are in the bin, actually? Didn't bother to look for that. Yeah, I think that's actually the first persist creature we've seen. And we haven't gotten into any of our sack outlets either. That's very, very strange. They're all buried in the 37 cards in the library there. Now, what's going on with this? Oh yeah, they're just deciding to carry on milling us with a Ravager Worm. That is 7 cards this time. Getting rid of a Mana Crypt, Bane of Progress, Incubation Druid. There is a Persist Creature. And then a Beast Whisperer as well. Okay, just deciding to not mill anymore, which is surprising. So the board does get wiped, which is also surprising. Now then, what can we do here? I think it might be worth us going in for our commander. Probably should have gone for... Yeah, we'll go for Rhythm of the Wild first before anything else. Because that stops counter magic, doesn't it? Assuming it doesn't get countered, that is. Okay, and then... Can we just dump a bunch of mana into this? Yeah, losing our doubling season really hurt. We've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 mana. That would be 10 from doubling season and this thing. and then 1 activation into the ooze. It does rely on us keeping hold of our doubling season though. Maybe just vomiting creatures onto the board is the thing to do. I'll try and land the doubling season anyway, and then we'll try and decide what we want to do. Well, the Grixis player is passing over really quickly, so I don't think they have counter magic in hand, surprisingly. This comes in untapped, doesn't it? Yeah, but I'm not too worried about that anyway. Let's go for the mountain. And we'll try and land this thing because it's a bunch of creatures in one. Oh, actually, why don't we go for... Yeah, we'll go for Pier first. Then it's even more power. We'll give Pier a plus counter and hope that Anger stays in the graveyard. We'll target ourselves with Pier. We obviously don't have Toothy in here. Then we'll go for this thing. And it can't be countered. It is going to have haste. And again, just to push more damage through, I'm going to hope that we keep hold of our Anger. Comes in with 2 creatures, but we're going to get 4 creatures with a bunch of plus counters on them, thanks to doubling season. Then, why don't we go for Sakura Tribe Elder as well? Put plus counters on that as well. And then we can go for this thing as well. We don't have to put any mana into X, thanks to all of the plus counter enablers that we've got. Alright, so that comes down as an 8-8. We've got a 9-9 Sakura Tribe Elder. I think I'm more worried about this opponent, to be honest. So let's just try and get them out. Luckily, we dealt with that ley line of anticipation, so we might not have much flash to worry about, but we'll soon find out. And hopefully the Grixis player goes down there, so it's that, and that going in at our opponent over here. That goes in here. These 3 go in over here, and that goes in at the Grixis player as well. We've got no right to win this game, or we've got every right to win it, based on how well we've gotten back into it, depending on how you look at it. The Grixis player is doing something in response. Ah, there it is, losing to Cyclonic Rift. Would you have it any other way? Been waiting on that for the whole game, and leaving back blockers wouldn't have protected us from Rift anyway. Yeah, it feels a shame to lose to Rift, but Rift always feels bad. They were always going to do that at the end of our turn anyway, so I don't feel too bad about that. We've got our unlimited hand size, but I have no doubt that this thing is swinging in at us next turn. I think we did very, very well against 3 blue opponents. If we were to play in a meta against our friends or at a local game shop, something like that, if we were constantly coming across blue decks, then there's plenty that Gruul can do against blue decks, like Red Elemental Blast, and there's the Gruul Goblin. I think it counters blue stuff. I mean, there's plenty of things you can do anyway. One of which is the Rhythm of the Wild. But our opponent obviously had no intention of countering anything. They were just going to bounce all the stuff. I'm glad that I've actually gotten to show how the deck's supposed to function. The persist combos are just in here as a means of winning in situations like this. But apparently drawing a bazillion cards isn't a means of getting into a single piece of your combo. So we've just been unlucky on that front this game, but we did make a lot of use out of the armoured judge. So that's been really good for us. It's actually the thing that's kept us in the game. Now then, what's Inalla doing? They have played a Puppeteer Click. They have reanimated with the Click the Woodfall Primus, that's ours, getting rid of the Maze of Ith. And now they are reanimating a Thunderblust. Puppeteer Click is target creature from an opponent's graveyard. It gains haste, and you exile it at the end of the turn. Okay, so they can't make use of the persist here, unless they've got a sack outlet. They're getting a whole bunch of Puppeteer Clicks here. I don't know how they're getting so many, actually. How are they getting lots of different copies? Well, they've reanimated with the Puppeteer Click our Ravager Worm anyway, blowing up our... oh, that was our Manland with the plus counters on it. Then taking out both of us, I imagine. Yeah, all this stuff has haste, so finally the game draws to an end. Be sure to say good game to my opponent. Yeah, like I said, I've always wanted to see a really good Inalla deck in action, and I've never seen one, so this was a treat for me. Not to play, but to see the Inalla deck be played. Yeah, playing against control is hellish, but I'm glad I got to see the Inalla deck in action at least. Trying to look on the bright side. So there we go, Inalla winning this one. The bad luck continues with Grumgully, although we did get back into the game thanks to being able to draw a bunch of cards. The card draw is in here, as you all saw, but in Gruul it's much slower than most other forms of card draw, and if you're having to play around counter magic all the time, sometimes you have to bait out the counter magic, get your stuff countered before you can actually play the things that you want to play. Luckily we managed to land it a few times, but it still wasn't good enough against mass bounce and getting all of our stuff stolen. But it was an interesting game nonetheless, I enjoyed it, so hopefully all of you did as well. I will play Grumgully yet again, try and have it function the way it's supposed to function like it did in this game, but actually win the game next time. So you can look forward to that in the next few weeks or months whenever I decide to whip it out again. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.